The night was quiet at the radio observatory in Puerto Rico. Dr. Lisa Martinez sat alone in the control room, watching the green lines dance across her computer screen. She had been doing this job for 10 years, listening to space for any sign of alien life. Most nights brought only static and cosmic noise. Tonight was different. At exactly 2:47 a.m., something strange appeared on her monitors. The signal was not like anything she had seen before. It came in patterns, repeating the same sequence over and over. The patterns looked like math, but there was something else mixed in, something that made Lisa feel cold inside. "This can't be real," she whispered to herself. Her hands shook as she started recording the signal. The patterns were too perfect to be natural. They had structure, purpose. Someone or something was trying to send a message. Lisa knew she needed help to understand what it meant. She called Dr. Jake Thompson at his home. Jake was her best friend and the smartest codebreaker she knew. His phone rang 6 times before he answered. "Lisa, it's almost 3 in the morning." "This better be important," Jake said in a sleepy voice. "Jake, you need to come here right now. I found something big." The tone in Lisa's voice made Jake wake up completely. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. When Jake arrived at the observatory, he found Lisa still staring at the computer screen. The signal was still coming through, stronger than before. "Show me what you found," Jake said. Lisa played back the recording from the beginning. Jake watched, the patterns scroll across the screen. His eyes grew wide as he began to understand what he was seeing. "These aren't random signals," he said slowly. "Someone is using prime numbers to get our attention. Then they switch to more complex math. It's like they're proving they're intelligent before they start the real message." For the next 6 hours, Lisa and Jake worked together to decode the signal. They used every computer program they had, trying different methods to unlock the message. As the sun came up, they finally began to see words forming on their screen. The message was in broken English, mixed with symbols they didn't recognize, but the meaning was clear enough to terrify them both. "Help us," the message began. "We are the Volari people from the star system you call Kepler 442. Our world is under attack. We are dying." Lisa felt her heart racing as more of the message became clear. The aliens were called the Volari, and they were peaceful explorers and scientists. They had been studying the galaxy for thousands of years, never bothering anyone. But now another alien race called the Krathen had found them. The Krathen were different from the Volari. They were warriors who traveled from world to world, taking what they wanted. They had powerful ships and terrible weapons. The message said the Krathen wanted something the Volari had, a special energy source that could power whole fleets of warships. "We heard stories about humans," the message continued. "Other races speak of your courage and your ability to fight against impossible odds. We know you are young and your technology is limited, but you are our only hope. The Krathen will destroy us unless someone helps." Jake stared at the screen in shock. "Lisa, this is first contact. Real aliens are talking to us." "And they're asking us to fight a war," Lisa replied. "A war against aliens we've never even heard of." The message included star charts showing where the Volari system was located. It was 47 light-years from Earth. The charts also showed the size of the Krathen fleet attacking them. Lisa counted over 50 enemy ships surrounding the Volari homeworld. But the most frightening part of the message came at the end. "We must warn you," it said. "The Krathen have already detected radio signals from your world. After they finish with us, they will come to investigate Earth. If you do nothing to stop them here, you will face them alone later." Lisa and Jake looked at each other. The choice was clear but terrible. Help the aliens and risk humanity's first space war, or stay quiet and face the enemy later with no allies and no warning. "We need to tell someone in the government," Jake said. "This is too big for us to handle alone." Lisa nodded and reached for her phone. She called the emergency contact number that all observatory directors were given for exactly this kind of situation. After explaining what they had found, she was told to stay exactly where she was and touch nothing. 2 hours later, black cars arrived at the observatory. Men in dark suits took copies of everything Lisa and Jake had recorded. The lead agent introduced himself as Agent Tom Brown from a government agency Lisa had never heard of. Dr. Martinez, Dr. Thompson, what you've discovered tonight changes everything, Agent Brown said. We're taking this directly to the Pentagon. General Bill Rogers will want to see this immediately. Within hours, Lisa and Jake found themselves on a military plane heading to Washington, D.C. Neither of them had ever been inside the Pentagon before. They were taken to a secure room deep underground, where General Rogers was waiting with several other military officials. General Rogers was a large man with gray hair and serious eyes. He listened carefully as Lisa and Jake explained everything they had learned about the alien message. When they finished, the room was silent for several minutes. "Show me the signal again," the general finally said. As Lisa started the recording, something incredible happened. New data began streaming across the screen. The signal was still active, and now it was showing moving pictures. The images were fuzzy but clear enough to understand. They showed space battles happening right now, 47 light-years away. Elegant alien ships were fighting desperately against larger, darker vessels. Cities on a beautiful blue-green world were burning as enemy ships bombarded them from orbit. "My God," whispered Colonel Janet Hayes, one of the officers watching the screen. "We're seeing an actual alien war happening in real time." The images showed Valari civilians running for shelter as Krathan soldiers landed on their world. The Valari looked somewhat like humans, but taller and thinner, with large eyes and peaceful faces. The Krathan were different, bigger with armor and weapons that seemed designed only for killing. "General," Lisa said quietly, "the message says they can only hold out for a few more weeks. If we're going to help them, we need to decide quickly." General Rogers stood up and walked to the window, even though it showed only the wall of another underground room. He was thinking about the biggest decision any human had ever faced. "Dr. Martinez, how certain are you that this is real? Not some elaborate hoax or mistake?" Lisa looked at all the data they had collected. The mathematics were too complex to fake. The star charts matched perfectly with what human astronomers knew about that region of space. The physics of the signals were consistent with coming from 47 light-years away. "General, I stake my career and my life on it. This is real. The Valari are real. The Krathan are real. And we're about to become part of something much bigger than just our own world." General Rogers turned back to face the room. His decision would determine humanity's future among the stars. "Get me the president on a secure line. We have a call to make." President Kate Sullivan had been in office for 3 years, but nothing had prepared her for this moment. She sat in the Situation Room at 6 a.m., staring at the alien footage playing on the main screen. Around the table sat her most trusted advisors, all looking as shocked as she felt. "Let me understand this correctly," the president said slowly. "Aliens are asking us to help them fight a war in space, and if we don't help, these Krathan will come here next." Defense Secretary Paul Davis nodded grimly. "That's correct, Madam President. Our analysis shows the Valari signal is genuine, the math checks out, the physics are solid, and the real-time footage proves this is happening right now." Dr. Amy Clark, the NASA administrator, leaned forward. "Madam President, we've been tracking this system for years through our telescopes. 3 weeks ago, we detected unusual energy signatures from that region. We thought it was just stellar activity, but now we know it was weapons fire." General Rogers spoke up from his seat. "The Valari have given us detailed information about Krathan military tactics and ship designs. They're hoping we can use this data to help them, but it also shows us what we'll face if they fail." President Sullivan looked at each person around the table. "What are our options?" Secretary Davis pulled out a thick folder. "We've identified 3 possible responses. Option 1, we ignore the signal and hope the Krathan never find us. Option 2, we send a diplomatic message offering to negotiate. Option 3, we send military assistance to help the Valari." "What does our military think about option 3? The president asked. Admiral Frank Hayes, the newest member of the Joint Chiefs, stood up. Hayes had been pushing for expanded space, defense programs for years, and now his warning seemed prophetic. "Madam President, I believe we have no choice but to help the Valari. Here's why. Hayes activated a presentation on the wall screen. First, the Krathen already know we exist. Our radio and television signals have been traveling through space for decades. They will find us eventually. The screen showed a map of Earth's radio signals spreading across the galaxy like ripples in a pond. Second, if we help the Volari now, we gain a powerful ally who knows our enemy. If we wait, we face the Krathen alone with no warning and no friends. Admiral Hayes clicked to the next slide showing humanity's current space assets. Third, we actually have a chance to win. Over the past 5 years, we've built 6 deep space vessels for asteroid mining and Mars colonization. With modifications, they could become warships. The president studied the ship designs. The vessels were larger than anything humans had built before, with powerful fusion engines and strong hulls designed to survive the harsh environment of space. How long would it take to modify these ships for combat? She asked. Dr. Clark answered first. The ships are already built and tested. We would need about 2 months to add weapons and defensive systems. The bigger challenge is crew training. General Rogers nodded. We have pilots and officers who could learn to operate these ships, but they've never fought in space. We'd be sending brave people into combat with no experience against an enemy who has been fighting for centuries. The room fell silent as everyone considered the enormous risk. President Sullivan walked to the window and looked out at the peaceful morning sky. Somewhere up there, an entire civilization was fighting for its life. Who would command this mission, she asked. Admiral Hayes didn't hesitate. Captain Steve Mitchell. He's been commanding our Mars supply runs for 3 years. He knows deep space better than anyone, and his crew trusts him completely. Bring him here. I want to speak with him personally. 6 hours later, Captain Mitchell stood in the Oval Office. He was a calm man in his 40s with the steady eyes of someone who had spent years navigating the dangerous emptiness between worlds. Captain Mitchell, we're asking you to do something no human has ever done before, President Sullivan said. We're asking you to take our ships and our people into an alien war. Mitchell looked at the president steadily. Ma'am, I've been watching the Volari footage. They're fighting to protect their families just like we would. If we don't help them, we'll face the same enemy later with no one to help us. Are you willing to command this mission? Yes, ma'am. My crew is ready. We've already discussed it among ourselves. We know the risks, but we also know what's at stake. President Sullivan made her decision. Admiral Hayes, you have authorization to begin Operation Distant Thunder. Captain Mitchell, choose your best people. We're going to war. The next 2 months passed in a blur of activity. The 6 ships were moved to a secret facility in Nevada, where teams of engineers worked around the clock to transform them into humanity's first space warships. The flagship was renamed USS Liberty, under Captain Mitchell's command. The other ships received names like Freedom, Justice, Defender, Guardian, and Courage. Each ship was equipped with railgun weapons, missile systems, and experimental energy shields based on theories that had never been tested in combat. Meanwhile, Captain Mitchell assembled his crew. Commander Rick Johnson became his tactical officer, a former Air Force pilot who specialized in combat strategy. Dr. Elena Vasquez joined as science officer, bringing her expertise in alien technology. Chief Engineer Bob Williams took charge of keeping the ships running in the harsh environment of deep space. The other ships received equally skilled crews. Captain Maria Gonzalez, a former submarine commander, took charge of the USS Freedom. Captain Tony Barnes, an expert in space navigation, commanded the USS Justice. Captain Susan Wright, who had led several Mars missions, took the USS Defender. Training was intense and dangerous. The crews practiced space combat maneuvers, learned to work together as a fleet, and studied everything the Volari had told them about Krathen tactics. Several training accidents reminded everyone how deadly space could be even without an enemy shooting at them. Dr. Lisa Martinez and Dr. Jake Thompson worked directly with the crews, teaching them how to communicate with the Volari and understand alien technology. The Volari continued sending updates about their desperate situation, showing that they were losing ground every day. 3 weeks before launch, the Volari sent a new message that changed everything. They had detected the Krathen sending scout ships toward Earth's region of the galaxy. The enemy would find humanity within 6 months, whether the human fleet succeeded or failed. There's no turning back now, Captain Mitchell told his crew on the night before departure. We're not just fighting for the Valari anymore. We're fighting for Earth, for our families, and for humanity's future among the stars. The 6 ships launched on a cold morning in October. President Sullivan watched from mission control as humanity's first interstellar fleet disappeared into hyperspace. The journey to the Valari system would take 3 months. During those 3 months, the crews trained constantly, ran combat simulations, and prepared for the battle that would determine whether humans would become galactic heroes or cautionary tales. On the Valari homeworld, Commander Zenth Ka watched his people's defenses crumble as the Krathen tightened their grip around the planet. His sensors showed no sign of the human ships that had been promised, but 47 light-years away, 6 human warships raced through the darkness, carrying with them humanity's hopes and determination to stand against the darkness threatening to swallow the galaxy. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Valari system. Captain Steve Mitchell stood on the bridge of the USS Liberty, staring at the view screen in horror. The battle was already raging, and it looked hopeless. 53. Krathen warships surrounded the Valari homeworld like a deadly net. The enemy vessels were massive, dark gray monsters covered in weapon ports and armor plating. They moved with the confidence of predators who had never known defeat. Fighting desperately against them were only 12 Valari ships. The alien vessels were beautiful, with smooth curves and gleaming silver hulls, but they were clearly outmatched. As Mitchell watched, one of the Valari ships exploded under concentrated Krathen fire. "My God," whispered Commander Rick Johnson from his tactical station. "We're too late. They're being slaughtered." Captain Mitchell activated the communication system. "This is Captain Steve Mitchell of the Earth vessel Liberty calling any Valari commander. We received your distress call. We're here to help." Kebama. Response came immediately, filled with surprise and hope. "Captain Mitchell, this is Fleet Commander Zenth Ka. I cannot believe you actually came. We have been fighting for 6 months. Our defenses are failing." On the main screen, an alien face appeared. Zenth Ka looked somewhat human, but taller and thinner, with large dark eyes that showed both intelligence and desperation. His silver uniform was torn and stained. "Commander Zenth Ka, we have 6 ships and we're ready to fight. What do you need us to do?" The Valari commander quickly sent tactical data to the human ships. The information showed Krathen ship positions, weapon capabilities, and shield frequencies. What the humans saw made their situation clear. They were heavily outnumbered and outgunned. "Captain," said Dr. Elena Vasquez from her science station, "the Krathen ships are 3 times larger than ours. Their weapons are more powerful, and their shields are nearly impenetrable." Captain Mitchell studied the enemy formation. The Krathen had arranged their ships in a perfect siege pattern around the Valari homeworld. They were bombarding the planet's surface while preventing any escape. It was efficient, ruthless, and very predictable. "That's their weakness," Mitchell said suddenly. "They fight like they've already won. They're not expecting a real challenge." He opened communications to all human ships. "All captains, this is Mitchell. The enemy thinks they know how space battles work. Time to show them they're wrong. Execute Plan Delta." Plan Delta was something the human crews had practiced during their journey. Instead of fighting a traditional space battle, they would use hit-and-run tactics like guerrilla fighters. Their ships were smaller and faster than the Krathen vessels. They could strike quickly and disappear before the enemy could respond. Captain Maria Gonzalez in the USS Freedom was the first to attack. Her ship accelerated to maximum speed and fired all weapons at a Krathen cruiser guarding the outer edge of their formation. The railgun rounds punched through the alien shields like they were made of paper. The Krathen ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light. "Impossible," came the shocked voice of the Krathen fleet commander over their intercepted communications. "How did they penetrate our shields?" Chief Engineer Bob Williams had discovered something important during their journey. Human railgun technology worked differently from the energy weapons most alien races used. The Krathen shields were designed to stop energy beams, not solid projectiles moving at incredible speeds. Captain Tony Barnes in the USS Justice proved this point by destroying a second Krathen ship with a single railgun volley. The enemy formation began to break apart as ships turned to face this unexpected threat. But the humans had another surprise. Instead of staying to fight, they disappeared back into the asteroid field at the edge of the system. The Krathen ships that followed them found themselves in a deadly maze where human ships could hide behind rocks and strike without warning. Commander Zenthka watched in amazement as the human tactics worked. "Captain Mitchell, your people fight like no one we have ever seen. The Krathen are confused and angry." "That's the idea, Commander. Now it's your turn. We're sharing our railgun technology with you. Modify your weapons and join the attack." The Volari were quick learners. Within an hour, their remaining ships had modified their weapon systems to fire solid projectiles instead of energy beams. Suddenly, they could fight back effectively for the first time in months. The battle turned into chaos. Human and Volari ships worked together in small groups, striking fast and disappearing before the Krathen could respond. The enemy's superior numbers meant nothing when they couldn't catch their opponents. Captain Susan Wright in the USS Defender led a daring attack on the Krathen command ship. Her small task force included 2 Volari vessels and fought their way through heavy enemy fire to reach their target. Wright's ship was badly damaged, but her railguns found their mark. The Krathen flagship's shields failed, and Volari energy weapons finished the job. The massive ship broke apart in a series of explosions that lit up the entire system. But the Krathen had one final, desperate move. Their remaining ships grouped together and aimed all their weapons at the Volari capital, city. If they couldn't win the battle, they would destroy the planet's population out of spite. "All ships, they're targeting the city." Commander Zenthka broadcast in panic. 20 million civilians are in danger." Captain Mitchell saw what was happening and made a decision that would define humanity's place in the galaxy. The USS Liberty was already damaged from the fighting, her shields failing and her hull cracked. But she was the only ship in position to stop the Krathen attack. "All hands, this is the captain," Mitchell announced over the ship's communications. "We came here to save lives. That's exactly what we're going to do." He ordered his ship on a collision course with the largest group of Krathen vessels. The USS Liberty accelerated toward the enemy formation, taking hit after hit from their desperate fire. "Captain, the fusion reactor is overloading," Chief Williams reported from engineering. "We have maybe 2 minutes before it explodes." "That's all we need," Mitchell replied calmly. "It's been an honor serving with all of you." The USS Liberty smashed into the center of the Krathen formation just as her reactor reached critical mass. The explosion was visible from the planet's surface, a new star that burned for several seconds before fading away. The blast destroyed 8 Krathen ships and scattered the rest. The enemy's coordinated attack on the civilian population was broken, and the remaining Krathen vessels began retreating toward the edge of the system. Commander Rick Johnson, now commanding the human fleet from the USS Freedom, opened communications with the fleeing enemy. "Krathen ships, this is the human fleet. You have 30 seconds to leave this system or we will destroy you all." The Krathen commander's response was filled with rage and disbelief. "This is not over, humans. The Dominion will remember what you have done here." "Good," Johnson replied. "Tell them Earth is waiting." As the last Krathen ship disappeared into hyperspace, the Volari homeworld celebrated its freedom. But Captain Mitchell's sacrifice reminded everyone that victory always came with a price, and humanity had just announced its presence to a dangerous galaxy. 3 days after the battle, Commander Rick Johnson stood in the main plaza of Veltaran, the Volari capital city. Around him, millions of Volari citizens had gathered to honor the humans who had saved their world. The ceremony was unlike anything Johnson had ever imagined. The Volari were a peaceful people who had never held military parades or victory celebrations. Instead, they created something beautiful. Thousands of their people sang together in harmonies that seemed to make the air itself glow with soft light. Their voices told the story of the battle and Captain Mitchell's sacrifice. Commander Zenthka approached Johnson with something in his hands. It was a crystal sculpture that seemed to capture starlight inside its clear walls. When Johnson looked into it, He could see images of the USS Liberty's final moments. "This is how we remember heroes," Zenthka explained. "Captain Mitchell's courage will be preserved forever in our memory crystals. His sacrifice saved not just our city, but our entire civilization." Johnson accepted the crystal with tears in his eyes. He would be honored to know his sacrifice meant so much to your people. "Commander Johnson, there is much we need to discuss," Zenthka said quietly. "The Krathen will return with a larger fleet. We estimate 6 months before they come back with enough ships to destroy both our worlds." That evening, Johnson met with the surviving human captains and Valari leaders in the council chamber. The room was filled with beings from 2 different worlds, working together to plan their survival. Dr. Elena Vasquez had been studying Valari technology for 3 days. Her report was incredible. "The Valari have technologies we can barely understand. Their energy manipulation systems could revolutionize everything we know about power generation. Their medical knowledge could extend human lifespans by centuries." "Captain," Maria Gonzalez leaned forward, "what can we offer them in return?" A Valari scientist named Keth Ra answered. "Your tactical thinking amazes us. In 6 months you developed battle strategies that we never considered in thousands of years of study. Your industrial production methods could help us build defenses faster than we ever thought possible." Commander Johnson realized they were witnessing something historic. "We're not just allies anymore, we're partners." Over the following weeks, humans and Valari worked together like they had known each other for years. Human engineers learned to use Valari energy systems, while Valari scientists studied human manufacturing techniques. The results surprised everyone. Chief Engineer Bob Williams, who had survived the battle aboard the USS Justice, worked with Valari technicians to design new hybrid ships. These vessels combined human durability with Valari energy efficiency. The first prototype was ready for testing within a month. Meanwhile, Dr. Lisa Martinez arrived from Earth with a team of linguists and scientists. She established the first xenological research station on an alien world, working to create better communication between the species. But the most important work was happening in the shipyards. Both civilizations were building the largest fleet in their history, preparing for the Krathen return. President Kate Sullivan visited the Valari homeworld 2 months later. It was the first time a human leader had set foot on an alien world. Her meeting with the Valari High Council created the Terran-Valari Alliance, humanity's first interstellar treaty. "Today, Earth is no longer alone in the universe," President Sullivan announced to both worlds during the signing ceremony. "We stand together with our Valari friends as equals, partners in the defense of freedom." The alliance brought immediate benefits. Valari faster-than-light communication technology allowed instant contact between Earth and the Valari system. Human industrial capacity helped the Valari build defenses they had only dreamed of before. But the most surprising development came from an unexpected source. 3 months after the battle, new signals began reaching the joint human-Valari fleet. These weren't distress calls. They were messages of congratulations and offers of friendship. The first came from a reptilian species called the Thakari. Their message was simple. "We heard about your victory over the Krathen. We would like to meet the humans who fight for others instead of themselves." Captain Tony Barnes, now commanding the new hybrid ship USS Liberty II, led the first contact mission to the Thakari homeworld. He found a civilization of skilled engineers who had been hiding from the Krathen for decades. "The Krathen destroyed our colony ships," explained Thakari leader Sessis Keth through the new universal translator Dr. Jake Thompson had developed. "We have been afraid to explore space since then, but you have shown us that the Krathen can be defeated." The Thakari offered their advanced engineering knowledge in exchange for protection under the growing alliance. Their shipbuilding techniques were different from both human and Valari methods, creating vessels that were incredibly strong and efficient. More species followed. The crystalline Zephyrians offered computing technology that made human artificial intelligence look primitive. The gaseous Etherians provided advanced sensor systems that could detect ships across entire star systems. Within 4 months, what had started as a desperate rescue mission had grown into a federation of 6 different species, all united by their refusal to bow to Krathen tyranny. Commander Johnson, now promoted to admiral, established the first multi-species starbase at the edge of Valari space. The station, called Haven, became a symbol of cooperation between different civilizations. But the test of their new alliance came sooner than expected. On a quiet morning, Admiral Johnson was reviewing fleet reports when his communications officer announced an incoming priority message. "Sir, we're receiving a distress call. It's not from the Crathen direction, this is coming from the Cygnus sector." The message played on the main screen. A new species, calling themselves the Hadari, were under attack by a different enemy. Their world was dying, and they had heard stories about the alliance that defeated the Crathen. "Please," the Hadari leader pleaded through the transmission. "We know you barely know us, but you are our only hope. Will you help people you have never met?" Admiral Johnson looked around the command center. Human, Valari, Thakari, and Zephyrian officers worked side by side at their stations. The bridge of Haven Station had become exactly what Captain Mitchell died to protect, a place where different species stood together against the darkness. "All fleet commanders, this is Admiral Johnson," he announced over the Alliance communication network. "We have a new mission, set course for the Cygnus sector, we have people to save." As the combined fleet prepared for their next mission, children on Earth and the Valari homeworld attended the same schools, learning each other's languages and sharing stories. The future belonged to all of them now. The last transmission from the fleet was Admiral Johnson's message to Earth. "The Crathen taught us that the galaxy can be a dangerous place. But we've learned something more important. When good people stand together, no enemy is too strong and no distance is too far to help those in need." Humanity had found its place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as the defenders of those who could not defend themselves.